Hello, 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 and welcome to the next episode, Learn, Grow, Do, Repeat with Jamie Totino. So today, I'm actually super excited to bring you this guest, someone that I'm really proud to have on the show and really excited to see what he's been able to create after a very successful AFL career and go on to do some really incredible things. So we have an AFL Premiership player. We have the Greek god gladiator. We have a winner of Dancing with the Stars, a very successful businessman, a father and a husband, and someone that I think is a real big motivation and role model to a lot of people inside the sporting world and outside of the sporting world. We have Anthony Koutoufides. Welcome to the show, Anthony.
Thank you, Jamie. Great to be on here.
Thanks, mate, for making the time. I really appreciate it. We're going to get stuck straight into rapid fire. So we've got about 23 questions, quick answers. Are you ready?
Yep, no problem.
Let's do it. Favorite song right now?
Oh, man, I'm an 80s lover, man. I don't know. I'm just anything 80s I like.
80s. All right. 80s, yeah. All right. Favorite song to get pumped up to? You're in the gym. You're about to do your PB. Favorite song?
Oh, mate, they vary over the time. I got no idea, man. I was at the gym today listening to love songs, and that's terrible to say. You know what I mean? So I'm a little bit unique and different, but it's always probably based around the 80s and 90s music that I grew up with, I think. Yeah.
Love songs. I love it. Favorite movie?
Look, I think the Rockies, the first four Rocky movies would have to be right up there. And I always say Shawshank Redemption as well. That was another one that sort of touched me. So,
of the four Rockies, which one would you say is your favorite?
I reckon four, man, with Ivan Drago. I reckon
that's my favorite too.
Yeah, with the training, man. And
in the snow.
The songs, yeah, we talk about motivational songs. I mean, they were just quality, you know.
Yeah, I've actually got that on my Hearts on Fire. I've got that on my on my running playlist for sure. There you go. See, favorite book?
Book. I think Think and Grow Rich. Yeah.
Favorite color?
Green.
I thought you were going to say blue.
I know most people would think, but in primary school I was a house captain for the green team, and I've always just loved green.
There you go. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I like it. Go-to meal?
I think mum beanie tan pasta, any pasta.
Yeah, good. Favorite TV show?
I don't really watch TV, really. I don't know. In the past, I don't know. Happy Days. I don't know. I'm not a TV man. And these questions always get me because I'm a bit different, you know.
Oh, I love it. Your first job?
My first job was what did I do? First job. I think I worked. My first job would have been at Just Jeans, I reckon. Yeah, Just Jeans in a warehouse.
Just Jeans. I like it. Your biggest sporting / celebrity idol growing up?
I was mad athlete, so I loved Carl Lewis growing up.
Carl Lewis.
And actually, I can't say because I love, and later on, I guess it was David Robinson and your Michael Jordans, you know, in the NBA. So
yeah, definitely. All right, cool. One thing you hate or dislike, and you can't say coriander.
Oh God, that's in food.
Doesn't have to be food; it can be anything.
Oh, hate. Got no idea, man. Well, I don't know.
We'll come back to it. This one's good. Your funniest or craziest thing you've done?
Funniest or crazy? Why do these questions always get me? I've always never been that sort of person. I don't know.
What about in the footy? What about in the Carlton days? Something funny, like the funniest thing that happened in the Carlton days.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Who knows what the funniest thing? I don't know. There was a lot of funny moments, man. I don't know if there was one clear one. I don't know.
All right, we'll come back. Are you more of a book or audio book?
Book, man.
Book. Summer or winter?
It used to be summer. I love winter now.
Okay. What is something that you haven't done yet that you'd really love to do though?
Probably to travel some of the world. Like I've been to the Greek islands, but probably to travel there with the family. Not at this stage, but that was something before all this stuff happened. It's something that I would love to have done and probably would have done this year or next year anyway. But anyway, not now.
Definitely not now. We can't even go interstate without having a problem. Sum up your mindset in one word.
I guess I've learned to become resilient.
I like it. Proudest moment personally and proudest moment professionally.
I mean, personally, the kids, and I have 3 kids. Professionally, the grand final 1995, that was a great day of my life, yeah.
What was it like?
I can go on for 20 minutes if you want about it.
1 minute.
The feeling, Yeah, maybe we'll wait till if you ask me the question during
Okay,
the.
well, that's a question I'm
Yeah,
going to write here.
yeah.
1995
Write
Granny
that down. That way I can answer that probably better than these questions,
in
man.
detail. I like it. I like it. Tell us something, Kuda, that no one knows about you.
I guess a lot of I don't know. Like I collect sneakers, and maybe not a lot of people know. Anyway, I love my sneakers. Always have ever since I was a young kid.
Sneakers. I like it. Cool. What's been your greatest failure? And you can substitute failure for a different word if you want, but greatest failure that ended up being your best lesson.
I don't know about failure, man. Like I've had a lot of, I guess, lessons in life. I don't know. There's been some tough moments. I'm not sure about failure. I don't know. I never really see it as failure. You know what I mean? Like if you're talking
Totally.
about tough lessons, I always look at my father. Him passing away was the toughest lesson and the hardest time in my life. So,
Yep. I like it. If you could choose any one person in the world to have lunch with, you got a 2 hour time limit. Who would it be and where would you have it?
probably Ben Johnson, 1998, he won the Olympic gold medal, but he got caught on steroids. But just a phenomenal athlete. I'd love to just talk to him about. I thought that was the greatest race in my time in 1998 Seoul Olympics, and that build-up was enormous. So I would love to spend time with him just to get his thoughts and stuff.
Do you have a preferred lunch location?
No, mate, I'm not fussy. I don't care whether it's gourmet or just the traditional, whatever. I'm pretty easygoing.
I like it. I like it. What was 10-year-old Kuda like?
10-year-old, man,
Yeah.
I was lazy and just I was lazy, a family boy, loved mum and dad and my brothers, and just loved sport. And that's a sort of kid that we just roamed around the neighbourhoods with my mates. So
Yeah, riding bike, kicking the footy around. I love it. I love it.
100%, man. 100%.
What's one trait that you find would be trait, skill, quality, value, belief, whatever out of those is that you see consistent around the closest, say, 5 people in your life, but the one that's most important to you as well?
Doing my business now, maybe personal growth, like our business really focuses on that. So maybe the people around me, it's that sort of area.
Yep. Yep. Nice. Nice. Last question as we wrap up rapid fire.
Good, Jamie. Yeah, good. Yeah, let's get through this, man, and we'll get through the other question.
Your favorite superhero?
Oh, Superman.
Superman?
Yeah.
I like it.
Superman,
well, that's rapid fire.
Yeah, close second, maybe He-Man, Master of the Universe. I used to love that.
There's probably a lot of young kids out there listening, or young people who wouldn't even know who He-Man is.
100%.
I like 100%. It. Well, that's
100%.
rapid fire. Well done. We got through it. Thank you for that. One question to follow up on the back of that. Kuda, what's been one thing that you've learned, well, probably more so last year and a little bit into now, but one thing that you learned about yourself throughout COVID?
It was a tough period, like when the initial shock of, the lockdown and everything that was going on and businesses closing really hit me. I mean, obviously you just don't know what's on the other side of it. But with lockdown, what I said to myself is that I was going to lock myself into a routine and just stick to it. And I think that was important because people can lose their way in lockdown and start to, we heard of people going and grabbing alcohol and doing all those things. And that's okay to start off with. But 3, 6, 9, 12 months later, it's going to have a dire effect on a lot of people. And so I locked down into a routine and a schedule as if I was still working. And so I really utilized that time to really develop myself and get myself better. And that's what I did. And it was actually a really good time for me because not only did I work on myself and spend a lot of time just really focusing on growing my business and my people, I spent a lot of time with the wife and the kids too, and spent time, walking with them and stuff like that. It worked out to be a really nice period. So, yeah, I learned a lot through that.
Glad to hear. So look, in the intro, we labeled so many things. You've done so much. You're doing so much. You're going to do so much more. Is there anything that you haven't done yet that you're like, that's next on the list for what I want to do?
You know what? I'm just going to work daily. I mean, I love what I do now. My business now, with the Herbalife business, working my team. We've got an international team. We're really strong, around Australia, but we still have so much more growth to do. And so I don't know if there's anything. There's a lot I want to achieve, and achieve means that I'm going to go out and help as many people as I can. And to me, that's exciting to be able to grab someone and, for them to be able to believe that they can go and achieve something. And although I was able to achieve things in footy and I had talent, I've seen a lot of people walk in with not a lot of talent and walk out with an extraordinary career. And so I try to have that mindset with my people too. And so I look forward to that. That means that I have to, number one, develop myself, and number two, instill those sort of beliefs into my people. And a lot of people really lack that self-confidence. And I'll tell you now, Jamie, I did too when I walked into the Carlton Football Club. So I am no different. And although I was talented, I still didn't feel like I belonged there for a long time. And so that's what I'm going to do. And I'm excited about that.
Awesome. Well, that's sort of, you've sort of finished it off there, which was going to go in, nice little segue into my next question. You sort of said going into Carlton, you didn't feel that you belonged there. Like, what was the upbringing like in regards to football and family till that moment there? Like, to tack on to what you said, to make, like, how come you felt that way?
I had an incredible junior football and athletic career. I had the choice of both sports, really. A lot of people thought I took up footy in a later stage of my life, and I was more of an athlete than a footballer, being the first athlete to walk into the game. But I played footy at the age of 8 and all the way through. So in winter, I played footy. In summer, I did athletics. I became Australian champion high jumper, Australian champion hurdler with an Australian record. I won many decathlon events. But and even footy, by the time I was 14, I got a letter. I lived in the Carlton zone, got a letter from the Carlton Football Club to go down there and play in their development squad, which they no longer do now. But I played 2 years under 15s, made the Victorian team. I then got invited to the Carlton Football Club under 19s, and I had to give away my beloved Layla Football Club that I loved and adored. That footy club. It was just like a lot of migrants and Australians were all one family. It was just a great time to grow up. And everyone loved each other. There was no real racism, you know what I mean? Those sort of things. So
Totally.
I was fortunate that we had some really incredible guys there that are still friends now. But then I had to choose the Carlton Football Club. So I played 2 years there, made, the Till Cup team, made the All-Australian team. That's when Carlton sort of offered me the contract. So I had an incredible athletic career, and I was very talented, and maybe didn't have to work as hard as some of the other kids during my time as well. But I walked in with just a little bit of, I didn't have, that self-belief. I didn't have that confidence to walk in and go, mate, I'm going to dominate here. I walked in thinking, do I belong here? I seen and looked at, icons of the era that I walked in with, your Kernans and Silvanis and Bradleys and all these sort of players. They were not just, Carlton greats, but AFL, going to be AFLs, they were superstars. Mm-hmm. So, I was looking at them as a young kid going, wow, men, strong, tough. So when I walked in, it was like, okay, where do I fit here,
How old were you at that time?
Hey?
How old were you at that time?
17. So, it was, 17. It was at the end, I was almost 18. So it was at the end of 1990 and early 1991. I was 18. So almost 18 really, but 17,
Were you always sort of like that? Did you always have that mindset? Because what I'm trying to get, and it sort of goes into what you were saying as well, is trying to help instill people that, you just got to turn up. Did you always have that sort of, not so much do I belong here, but did you have any, was there self-confidence apparent in your life, or was it just really at that Carlton stage that you really became real?
Yeah, I had confidence in the belief that, I was a good athlete and could play football, but I never see myself, I don't know if I ever see myself as better than anyone else, you know what I mean? I didn't feel like I was, mate, look how good I am, I used to go and compete locally and even school athletics. And I used to have other kids from other schools follow me around to just watch me compete in the high jump and shot put. And it was like, I had 10 people walking around going, hey, I heard you were good, you were good. And they'd watch me do high jump and, I'd wait till everyone bombed down and then I'd do my first jump. And they're like, what? They're like, how do you do that? And it wasn't even high, I'd just go, look, just put it over there.
Just stepping over it,
Really, man, it was just a few steps over. And then they're like, hey, what? They come to shot put, So I don't know, I still seen the icons as, wow, how do you get there and how do you become one of these sort of players?
Like you were here and they were up here, so to say.
Yeah, I sort of put them there. And so a lot of us put people up there and go, mate, they're so good that we can't be like them. But we don't realise that maybe they were like us, but just worked harder. And eventually overnight success is never usually overnight success.
Totally.
It's usually hard work previous. And so, I had a long way to go. But by being in an incredible environment, and so really it's who you surround yourself with. I surrounded myself by luck with some superstars. And by being around that environment, the first year I did struggle. I mean, I was a young kid trying to find my way. it was a tough environment. It was a man environment. I was still a young kid, skinny kid, walking in, getting hurt, bashed, unsure, do I belong here? Moments of ups and downs and whatever. But by the second year, you start to get a little bit more familiar and comfortable with the surroundings. And, when you go and compete against some of the great players, you lose the first time, you lose 10 out of 10 usually. Then eventually you win one. You go, how do I do that? Then eventually 2 or 3, confidence starts to build and go, actually, you know what, maybe I can beat him now, So everything just takes a little bit of time. And you're in a different, uncomfortable environment. And the way it was back then was, if you're a young kid, you have to try to mingle yourself become part of this culture and not be an outsider. Later on in my career, we welcomed the new players in and wanted them, make sure they feel comfortable. Well, I walked in an era when it was tough, man. It was like, if you don't get to mingle with these guys, man, you won't belong here. So it was like, out of your comfort zone. And it's the only way to get yourself better is getting yourself out of your comfort zone.
How did you do that though? Like you said like that first year was a real struggle. So I'm guessing on your mind, it might've been like, well, do I actually even really fit here? Like, am I going to be able to do this? But how did you push through though? Because again, that's going to be, whether it's football, business, relationships, life, your career, your university, your schooling, whatever it is, there's going to be those moments where it's like, I actually need to push through now because like, that's just what needs to happen. Like, what was your mindset like then?
I had a 3-year contract at Carlton, so I really had no choice unless I wanted to break that contract and just leave. And that I wouldn't have done because I felt like I'm contracted, I'm obligated to the football club, whether I like it or not, whether I'm playing good or bad, I've got to turn up. And because of that, I learned. I mean, people can just give things away because it becomes a little bit hard, but I was contracted. And so I just kept continually turning up. And, over time, I did get a little bit better. So it's that never give up kind of spirit. I never had that. But I guess I felt like I was contracted there that I had to turn up. And so I learned the skill of don't give up because of that, So I was a little bit lucky in that sort of way.
Did you do anything in particular to change your mindset or ways? Or it was just purely like, I need to turn up again and again and go to the next contest and go to the next contest?
Keep turning up, man. Just keep turning up. You have good and bad days. And some days you think, man, I can beat them. Next time they beat you. And next time you go out and you beat them and you work that little bit hard and do a little bit extra and all that sort of stuff. And then it starts to unfold. Sometimes, your vision is like not clear, man. It's clouded. It's like, man, I don't know where I'm going. I'm not sure if I can actually make it. Then something opens up for you. You know what I mean? And on you go.
Was there a moment? Was there a moment for you that it actually opened up? Was it a game or a season or like a moment where it felt like shit? I've hit my flow here. I've hit my stride. Like it's working.
It was, in 91, I didn't get a game. 92, I played 6 games. 93, I played 8 games. 94, I played the first half and I got dropped for 2 weeks and I thought it was the end of my career. And the club sent me to a sports psychologist. His name was Anthony Stewart. I sat down with him, wonderful guy. He taught me these words, I can, I will. You just watch me. And he made them write them down in my diary and highlight them every single day. And I use those words. 2 weeks later, I got picked again for the senior team and I'll never look back. So it was 3.5 years. That was the moment there that changed my life and my career forever. And if I had given up, I never would have accomplished the things that I did. Probably would have went back to local footy. Maybe have been, he was a good local footy player, but it's not good enough in the AFL. Was it me? Was it the coach? Was it the selectors that maybe didn't see the potential in me initially? Maybe a little bit of both. I mean, I certainly didn't get a lot of confidence from a lot of the coaches there at the footy club. A lot of them didn't embrace me. Rod Ashman did. He was a terrific guy. He was our reserves coach. But within the match committee, there was probably 2 or 3 or 4 of the people there that didn't really think too highly of me. And it took a long time for me to become a senior player. I looked at others and I thought, I know I'm better than them. I had a wonderful family, and mum and dad were incredible support, and so were my brothers, who just kept saying, you're actually the best player there. You're the best player. And I was like, I couldn't see it. They could see something more in me. But because I kept getting deflated by what was said to me in my head over there, that I couldn't shine until that moment in 94 when he finally, David Parkin picked me on the wing. And from that moment onwards, I never looked back.
I love the clarity that you have of the moments. Like you can obviously tell like the memories are still vivid. They're still bright. They're still there. And they're obviously life-changing moments for you. We touched on earlier, like the 95 grand final. What about that though? Sorry, let me ask one more question before that, because I know that might go for a couple of minutes. What was your best lesson? Like, what did AFL teach you about life?
Your goal, my goal was to play AFL footy, and I just wanted to play the very best that I could. And so it taught me that things don't come easy. Like, you've got to work hard. I know some players walk in and they get the opportunity. And I know the club see some players and go, mate, we're just going to keep playing you. We're going to keep playing you until you become good. Some players get that opportunity, and there's others I look at and go, wow, man, this guy's good. And the coach keeps berating him, and they never really get the best out of him. And so, unfortunately, that's the environment. I could have gone either way. I look at it now and just go, wow, I'm lucky. You know what I mean? I watch my kids now and some of their coaches, and I don't agree with some of the coaches now. And I think sometimes there's a lot of politics that get involved. I really don't like that, but that's the way, life is. And when I look back now, I think there was some politics back then as well. And so it can be hard, but that belief and persistence, and you just got to keep going, and don't let anyone put you down. But within yourself, you've got to believe in yourself. That confidence you've got to have.
Good. Let's talk about the 95 grand final. Because the question I actually have here, one of your greatest memories playing AFL.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing that's going to sort of answer it.
That's it.
That's it. That's the full stop. But like the lead up, and now that you've dived a little bit deeper into the build up you had to 95, the struggles of 91 to 93, and then 94 playing a few more games into 95. But what did it mean for you? What did it mean for the club? What did it do for you, most importantly, as well?
Yeah, so I always look back, and that one day in September was worth all the heartache and pain and blood, sweat and tears that I went through, all those emotions that I went through, some of those tough moments when the coach I thought was unfair in what he said about me, and maybe his definition or description of the way that maybe I played or trained, and I just disagreed with it. But it was all worth it. And this is why I always say to my people, don't ever quit or give up, because you just don't know what's ahead. What if I did quit? I wouldn't have won that grand final. It was the greatest day of my life at the age of 22 back in 1995. What an amazing feeling it was. And our club was, the most successful club in the competition, no doubt about it. In 93, got to the grand final, but Essendon beat us. Well, not me, because I was emergency. I sat in the grand final and watched that loss. And 94, we were on top of the ladder with a week to go, and we lost that last round, and then we went out in straight sets. So everyone in 95 was saying that we were too old and too slow. Well, we only lost 2 games for the entire year, and we walked into the grand final not even as favourites. Geelong were favourites to win. I don't know how that grand final, but by the last quarter and the build-up, I'll tell you about the build-up. I mean, Carlton was so popular as a team. We'd stand there for an hour and a half after training in finals, signing, autographs when we couldn't do a grand final week. It was mayhem. We had to sneak into the club 2 hours before training even started just to get away from it. And it was just really, it was zapping. As much as we love the supporters and so grateful for them, it was hard to stand there for an hour and a half during the final series signing autographs when you had so much to do. And so the Thursday night running out from the race, man, with thousands of supporters there and chanting your name, never forget, man. I mean, these are the highs of life that sometimes people will struggle then to become that normal person like myself. You go from up there and all of a sudden you're just the average person now like anyone else. And so you really have to adjust to it. And it's not easy for your mindset, but, that's the way life is and you have to accept it. But the car parade going through around the city too, I mean, we were like, Peter Dean described Ange Christo and I as like being with the Beatles. I mean, we were probably at the peak of our, we were just young kids that were coming through the ranks. Our popularity was probably at its peak right then and then back in 1995, because we're winning games and we were like 2 of the young guns coming through as well. And that's the way, anytime a young player comes through and they're playing well, we're going to like, oh, wow, look at these players. Totally. Especially in the 90s when the game of footy was a religion, it was the greatest game in the world, I reckon, in the 80s and 90s.
Still is.
Oh, well, maybe. I'm not sure if it is. Maybe it's a great game, but I don't think it's as good as what it was before.
True.
And so, yeah, and then, of course, that grand final day, I remember, in the last quarter, we were up by 80-odd points, and I looked around, 90,000 people at the MCG, Jamie. Like, how do you explain that, man? I was just trying to suck in the moment, and then when that siren went, oh, my God. I went nuts, man. We celebrated for 6 weeks, and it was bit that we did, man. I put on about 8 kilos during that journey, man. But we just drank and celebrated, and, mate, it was worth it. What an unbelievable time to be alive. What an unbelievable time to be, in Australia. What an incredible country it was. But, back then it still is a wonderful country. But, like, the freedom that we had back then was just, you can't, explain it. It was unbelievable.
For you, did that change your internal self-worth, self-confidence to say, like, I'm worthy? Like, even though, like you said, like 93, 94, 95 had great seasons, but there was still that self-doubt as whether you deserve to be there. Did the grand final change that for you?
I never really still see myself as probably the best player there at the club. You know what I mean? Well, your Kernans and your Sylvanis and Bradleys and Greg Williams was the greatest player I played with. So I always seen, them above me, but I just went out there to just try to do the very best that I could, And so, I guess if in hindsight I went back to what I understand now, maybe I would have been different. There's no doubt about it. But I was just enjoying every little moment that I could, playing this wonderful game of football.
Totally. That's one thing that I've sort of learned over, my time as well, is like you said, that last thing you said, enjoy the moments. Because like you'll look back and you have all the memories, and you have them very clearly now still, but definitely enjoy every single little moment that it brings. But thank you for giving us some details on that. I really appreciate it. I still remember Carlton's heyday. I'm a Tiger supporter, so I never really used to like Carlton because you always beat us. So,
yes.
But I always loved you, though. I can tell you that much. What sort of, I want to sort of touch now into sort of business and financials and sort of sport crossover sort of thing. For you, did you have that business mindset while you were playing, maybe sort of like the second half of your career while you were still in sport?
Yeah, I was searching for something. I always knew footy would, the time was running out. I knew that. I mean, I was 34 when I retired. I thought I was ready for the outside world, but I also thought, that maybe I would be back at some sort of role in football when I retired anyway, But I think I wanted to get out there for a good year and at least, examine and just see what was out there for myself too, because we got stuck in that, cocoon world of football. And like the last 5 years was pretty much full-time footy. And so you really couldn't do anything outside of footy. And David Parkin, where he was good, was that he'd always say to us, do things outside of footy so you're prepared. But the last 5 years under Dennis, he was a bit different. He was a bit like footy, and don't worry about afterwards, you just do whatever, you know what I mean? So it was a little bit different. I thought I was ready, but I wasn't, And so I went out to the world. I got into a franchise, one shop. Everyone thinks I own the whole thing of the Soulsearching hut.
Yeah.
That was started well, but then that just by the second, third year just went the other way of what we were expecting. I mean, it probably wasn't run, not probably, it wasn't run as well as what it should have been. And so they're the lessons that you learn in life. I never see it as a failure, but it is, you know what I mean? Like a lesson that you learn.
So was that straight after footy, like out of footy and into that franchise?
Pretty much, man. In 07, it started. So it was towards really, I probably played another month or two after it opened. Then I was pretty much done and dusted. So, I went into Gladiators. I did a show called Gladiators as well. And so it was a bit of like, find my way. And no doubt after a year, I tried to get back into the Carlton Football Club and there was nothing there available for me. There was nothing in AFL. I went to the AFL. They said, we've got no money. We've got no one. And about 2 or 3 months later, they signed up another 2 players. So they had the money, but they just, they just do whatever they want to do anyway. So basically from then, I was out of the AFL field. So from the age of 14 to the age of 34, there I am in the footy world. Loved the Carlton Football Club, dedicated my life to them. I had offers from other teams and never accepted because I always just wanted to stay there. But, you realise then, loyalty, you start to go, okay, maybe it's not like the way that I thought and the way that I was brought up about loyalty and that as well, that sometimes you've got to look after yourself. And so I did get lost after football. I'll be honest, I was working, but I wasn't happy there. You know what I mean? Like life was just like, man, what am I going to do? I've got so much more life to live, so much more that I want to do. And, I've got 3 kids, man. I've got to keep working, And so life was tough during that period, man. It was a soul-searching time. And, I was in a low period in my life, no doubt about it.
Do you see that as a sort of a catalyst to where you are now? Or can you look back? Obviously, we can look back and say we can do things differently. But was that like a real telling time for you to go on and do what you've done? Like, are you sort of in a way grateful for that? Like, I'm glad that happened, that you didn't go back into footy?
Yeah, I had a business development weekend and thought of the things that, imagine I didn't find what I do now, I don't know where I'd be. You know what I mean? Like how unhealthy I would have been probably mentally and physically as well. And so I'm really goal driven. You know what I mean? I've got to have things that I've got to go out and try to chase and achieve. And, you go through your ups and downs. I can't just be stagnant and just rely on others. So I learned during that period that I can't rely on other people, whether it's the footy club or the people within the footy club. I'll always love the football club. I mean, the people different. People come and go in there. and people like you and some people don't. During my playing days, I got along with everyone really well, I thought, but who knows what they thought, you know? And so now I know and understand that at the end of the day, you got to look after yourself. Build something for yourself is the best way to do it than rely on someone else or a boss. And so I'm lucky I found, you know, the Herbalife business and, you know, in the way a lot of people told me, don't do it, it's this and that, had their opinions. But I looked within the company. It was the most extraordinary company that I'd ever seen. And so I fell in love with, number one, with the products, and number two, then I seen the bigger vision of the picture of the business and what I could achieve, and so I went for it.
Do that. Now, obviously, with you know, because I want to ask a bit more about, like you said, he had that, like, that soul searching time, a little bit lost. Like, what did you do in that time to try different things? Because now, especially coming out of COVID, there's probably a lot of people out there who maybe in 2020 either lost their jobs or were made redundant, or, you know, are looking or had that time to think and are like, well, what do I actually really want to do with my life? Like, what meaning do I want to give it? Like, any advice, any tips, any things that you did back then, or anything that you're talking about now with people? Because I find that really relevant right now. I don't know if yourself as well, but there's a lot of people out there who are wanting change, who want to go out there and start their own business, who are wanting to do things that they've never done before because they've realized how quickly life can change.
Yeah, look, it's a good question. You know, I was lucky because, you know, I needed to find something that with a love. You got to love and have love and passion. And some people get involved in the job and just stay at a job, but really, number one, they can achieve more in life. And number two, some of them have bigger dreams, but they get stuck because, you know, their bosses hold them back or their job opportunities don't give them what they're looking for. So sometimes we just choose the wrong vehicle from where we want to go. So I know there's a lot of driven people out there that are probably stuck at a job but have to do it because you've got to pay their bills and things like that. Myself, man, I was trying to do everything I could. I was still reading at that time. I still wrote down goals, although, you know, like things weren't happening for me. I just knew the power of the mind because, you know, that mind, if we don't work it to the way that we want it to work, it just goes wherever it wants to go. And so I knew during that tough period that and I had a wonderful, like, wife that supported me as well. Like, she never stopped me from doing what I wanted to do. And I'm very fortunate in that way as well. And, you know, I just kept working on myself. And that's when this evolved. My business evolved in a year after. For a good year, I struggled with my health. I was sleeping 11 hours a night, struggled to get out of bed. You know, I'd get home from work, I'd sleep on the couch. I had all these other health issues, doctors, allergy specialists, blood specialists, everything they told me to do, nothing helped. I was even eating organic food, and that didn't help. So a friend of mine doing this business approached me for the business, not so much the products, but I was like, okay, but I went through it and seen the research and whatever. Anyway, jumped on the product skeptically. 6 days later, these products changed my life. I was full of energy again. And I have not stopped taking the product every day for, it will be 10 years as of February, so next month. And there, I fell in love with the product. So that's when I got intrigued by the business. I knew the guy that rang me up was very, very successful in the business. And so I needed to go see it myself, and a lot of skeptics around or whatever. But you know what I mean? Like, if you believe in something, you know it's authentic, and you believe from true of your heart that this is authentic, go for it. Don't worry about what people say. And that's what I did. I was like, whether my wife agreed or not, you know what I mean? I was just like, whether my best mates or my brothers or mum, I was going this way here. And I went, and that's what I did. And so I was lucky that I did, because imagine I listened to all of them, I wouldn't be in the position that I am now. I work from home. I have business, you know, mainly in Australia, but still we've expanded overseas in that as well. Awesome. It's, you know, a very exciting period for us.
I love that. I love that. I love what you said there as well, as, you know, sort of staying true, find your love and the passions, but you still kept reading, you still kept learning, you still kept writing your goals down, even in those times. And then it sort of manifested out to having someone reach out to you and say, hey, this is what we've got. And I, you know, what I've just listening to that story and you know, thinking of others, of myself as well, like that opportunity probably would have always been there. But if you hadn't kept self-developing, you hadn't kept reading and writing goals down, you might have just waved that opportunity away.
Yeah.
You know, but because you kept...
Sorry, you go.
I was going to say is because you kept like sticking to the path. You like, you know, I still need to read, still need to develop, still need to look after myself as an individual. When that opportunity did arise, you're like, you know what, I'm going to explore that. Like, you were open to it. You weren't closed off to other things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it all comes down with the energy. You know, like if I was in a depressed sort of mode, which I was in a low period in my life, I just don't probably see it as being depressed. You know, a lot of people suffer with that, and I can understand people get on medication and stuff. I was at a low period. Like, I had a lot of them though in my footy career, so I understood that sometimes in life things don't go, but what comes out of there, usually something better after you
100%.
find yourself. And I worked really hard in those 3 years to really find myself. And you're right, that's when the opportunity came. If I wasn't in a good state of mind, I may not have been open to that, And so always, to stay and work this here and get yourself to that higher level so you can see a little bit more clarity of what's up there and not stay down there with people that just, gossip and negative stuff and whatever. I just tried to just eliminate that out of my life to stay positive. We're here only for a short time, and like as I start to age, I became a father at a young age, man. And so, I want to just continue to just work on myself, spend time with the family, my close friends and my business partners that I love and adore. And I'm happy and content in that way.
Love that. What did you do to handle the outside voices? Because again, that's a very common thing. Doesn't matter who you are, what you are. You obviously would have copped it with football, hearing it from the crowd, but then also hearing it from the media and hearing it from inside the club, and then getting into the business world. And still probably today, there's obviously that negative stigma around, what it is that you do. How do you handle it? Someone's listening, whether it's something completely different, doesn't matter what it is. How do you handle the negative talk or the backlash, so to say?
Look, you have to expect you're going to get it from some people. I was lucky in footy. Majority of people were so good to me. Yeah, there was some that didn't like, but that's life. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to probably like everyone as well. I let them go and let them do whatever. And that's people's opinions are going to come whether you like it or not. I mean, I think there's some people out there that just love that negativity side and just want to do that. And that's their life, man. And if they're happy, man, and want to attract that sort of thing, go for it.
Happy
days.
You know
what I mean? But yeah, myself, copping it in footy, I understand that people are going to, whatever, have negative things and whatever, and just to keep moving on and belief. I always say, as long as you know deep down inside, like what I said before, that it's authentic, that you're doing the right thing and you're helping people for the right reasons, and you're not even, like you're doing it for that, then that's fine. And that's all I've done. And, hanging around those like-minded people. And, the business that I've got some extraordinary, incredibly successful people. And we get to learn from that. So I learn from people that like I said before, you got to look at them and hope to be there one day. I look at them too and hope to be like them one day as well. And so I'm still chasing. I'm constantly chasing.
Love that. What advice would you give to someone that's, in their sporting career now, whether it's AFL or whatever sporting career it might be, about setting up for the future?
After footy, I mean, like, or becoming a footballer,
or even during, like, let's say they're already a footy player. They're in the AFL now, or they're young, they want to get into football. Like that's what most kids' dreams are, to play AFL. What can they start to think about or do now in preparation for post-footy career?
Oh, well, there's a lot. I mean, work on yourself, do some courses, do whatever, man. Like, find something you're going to love with a passion afterwards. A lot of the players might want to get back into footy. I mean, don't rely on just a football club, but just think of course after footy. Because, growing up, I thought I was just going to play footy forever. And the years went slow, you know what I mean? They're like, oh, my God, my whole life was sport, footy. Like, I couldn't imagine myself after footy, you know what I mean? Because I was just like sport, footy. And then the time comes. And so always be prepared for that. And I think now the clubs are better than what I assume. I don't really know, in all honesty, Jamie, but I assume they are a lot more prepared than what we were back in our day.
I like it. And it's valuable content, and that's valuable feedback. And you know what I love about that, Kouta, is it's not like fluffy stuff. Like, it's not like, wishy-washy, just, whatever. It's relevant. It doesn't matter whether you're an AFL player or you've finished uni and you don't know if you want to follow that path and you want to go and do something else. It's the core concept of, follow what it is that you really passionate and love doing, but also develop yourself. Continually doing that, I think, is really important now. What were some of the biggest fears that you feel that you had to break through, sort of through footy, out of footy, into business now? What were some of the top fears that you had as, Kouta, who most people on TV would have watched as this guy coming out on the footy field and dominating? But for you as the individual, like, what were some of those core for you?
Well, some of my fears, of course, when you play bad, like I felt like I needed to play good all the time. And those fears, I guess, continue to push me to train that little bit harder and get a little bit better and stuff like that. I guess I had a little bit of pride in the way that I played. And so I always tried to just do that little bit more. And so I'm probably a little bit still like that now. You know what I mean? I don't want to look like, oh, my God, he's got no idea or whatever. So I just continually work in that sort of way. But footy, definitely, I felt pressure all the time, in footy to perform well. But because of that, like I never, even my greatest game, that I may have played, or my top 3 or 4, I always looked at them and thought, you know what, I can still improve on them. I never felt like, man, I've mastered this game of footy. If you ever feel that way, man, you're going to get chewed up and spat out so quickly. And so you have to continually work hard.
I like it. I like it. What would you say? Are you a better businessman or footy player?
Footy was a lot more natural. And I said it to yesterday, I did a speech on the stage. It was Saturday, 2 days ago. I did a speech on stage and I said, I come into this business world with a lot of things that I need to improve on. You know, I don't see myself as being the best here, but what I have learned in my past is that I'll continue to work hard, because I've seen players that didn't have a lot of talent walk in the footy field, but come out of there and achieve so much. And so football and sport was natural for me. I think I was gifted in that sort of way. Not to say I didn't have to work hard. I did have to work extremely hard to get the best out of myself. But in the business world, it's a little bit different for me. I have little areas that I need to improve on, but I continue to do that. And I love it. I never will say I've mastered the business. Well, I never will. Even, you know, if I get to where I want to get to, I'll still say, you know what I mean? There's ways to improve.
There's always more. There's always more out there, I think that's one thing I love about the whole business world, is that there is no end, technically. If you think you've done well in this industry, well, there's another million industries you can get yourself into, and you can start from the bottom again and build up there. What would you say are your top 3 habits, Kuda, for getting you into the optimum, you know, you for the day, whether it's business world, sport world, whatever world? Like, what do you do consistently, non-negotiable, every day, top 3 things?
Top 3 things. Well, I've got a morning routine now. So I think it's, you know, the disciplines, you know, commitment to your goals, you know, it's all those things that I really, you know, focus on. And that, you know, now I guess it's that, you know, belief also. So I don't know, I have a morning routine. I just try to stick to my structure. So it's that commitment and disciplines that you do daily, those little things that count, you know what I mean, that people forget about. And I always say to my people, it's what you do behind closed doors is what really defines you, because you can tell me whatever it is that you want to, and I don't have a camera to watch you around. But if you're doing bad, you got bad habits at home, like that's going to come out. Like for me in football, for me in footy, if I cheated a little bit, don't train here, let me hide here, whatever, I got found out on the footy field in front of thousands of people and said I didn't do it because I didn't want to feel that way, you know. But for the people now, they can, you know, look, obviously do whatever they want to behind closed doors. So I always tell them that's the time that will define whether you're successful or not.
I like it. I like it. And it was pretty much like you had, you know, 80,000, 50,000, 90,000 people every weekend keeping you accountable. Did you train this week? You know, you had nowhere to hide. Yes. You had the whole country watching TV, watching you. Right. I like that. Do you remember a moment where you sort of said, there might be 2 answers to this, one in the sporting and then post-sporting, where you, not that you said, I've made it, but you sort of said, like, wow, like this is real. Like, this is what I dreamed it to be. Like, I'm living the life I dreamed when I was a youngster, or the visions I had. Was there a moment when you realized that?
I think that the moment when I after getting dropped in 94 and I, you know, played that, you know, great game when I came back, I think that moment there's that belief and confidence started to grow. And that's probably when I felt like, okay, you know, I actually can play this game now, you know. And then I think I was in the best plays every week after that, except for probably the last finals game. And people started to notice me. So maybe that was the sort of time when I started to go, okay, now, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I'm ready now. I'm ready. This is it. You know, it was that moment when I started to do just some things that other players couldn't do, you know, some moves or whatever. And it was just like, okay, here we go. Now this is the real me coming out of myself.
Yeah. And I love that how it came on the back of like a downtime. Like you said, you were dropped for 2 weeks. Like the best version of you was unlocked when you were dropped.
Yeah.
And there's like a really good metaphor there for people listening. It's like, even if you do go through a bit of a shit time or as a shit period, like the best version of you is probably coming out on the other side of it, which is really cool. You know, what you're doing now, because I was going to say is, you know, playing footy, what you envisioned being a youngster, because obviously it was, but what you're doing now, the lifestyle you live, the Anthony Koutoufides that you are today, is it what you thought you would be 10 years ago, leaving footy?
No, definitely wasn't. I mean, I don't know what my vision was, you know. Was I to go back, or was I to be some, you know, guru franchisee, owner of a few, you know, restaurants or whatever? But, I just needed to find myself. So I didn't really have this vision because I didn't even know this business existed, in all honesty. You know, I didn't know people could work from home and build a business around the world in that sort of, you know, manner as well. So I definitely, if anything, it would have been more a conventional style business, not so much as what I do now.
I like it. I like it. Last few questions as we start to wrap it up. And again, I really appreciate your time. I'm sure the listeners and watchers are taking so much from it. Is there one thing in particular, like, and it's not about like what makes you special, but is there something that you can put it down to like, why did you make it? You know, like you said, you came from, Laylaw, northern suburbs, under 14s, got the letter, played there for a couple of years, did the, juniors, did the 19s, all the way through, got dropped a few times, had a few bad games. Like, what about it in you that
I never quit, Jamie, man. I never quit. No, I told you why. I probably would have. Someone described something as tapping out. You know, UFC fighters, sometimes you tap out. I reckon if I wasn't contracted, I did tap out. But I just couldn't because I was contracted. So I learned it. I'm lucky. I could have easily been just that local footballer if I had quit. And I stayed and persisted. And so, man, if you're a young kid trying to, achieve it in sport, I've got a son now who's trying to do it too. It hasn't been easy for him, son, if you want it, we just got to keep going because you don't know what's ahead, And so it's been tougher for him. And so I realise now how political, the things are, and we just got to keep going, man. Don't quit. Personal development helps you, for your mental mindset, but the challenges are really, personal development prepare you for challenges that are going to come, but the challenges help you grow, if that makes sense.
I like it. I like it. Did you always have that never quit attitude and like, even growing up?
No way. Man, I was so gifted or whatever. It was like, man, if they don't want, I don't care, mate. I won't
So
go
what
today,
was the flick? What was the switch then? Like, why did you have it then?
Because I walked into the most powerful, most incredible football club with the most incredible players around me. And so I learned from the best. And then I look at them and go, what do they do that's different to me? Number one, their training intensity was higher. They did a little bit extra. They were more, whatever, you know what I mean? More serious, whatever. I learned from them. And so by being around an environment of successful players, back then to be a footballer, man, we're talking, 1%, two, I don't know, what percent of players that walk in and trying to get to there. And I was there in this, successful environment of champion players. So I got to learn from not just one. There was probably 20 or 30 players around that just brought leadership qualities to that football club. And so by being around there as a young kid, that made me grow a lot quicker than what I would have if I was just at a local football club, because these guys were professional and these guys were the best. And so I looked at them in order to improve. What's so good about him? What's so good about him? What's so good about him? Okay, now I'm starting to understand. I need to improve here, and here. And if I can do that, I'll start to raise the bar. And that's how it works.
I love that. And you said it at the start and you said it throughout the entire thing. It's the power of being around the right people. And it's what you've created within your business. And it's what anyone can create is having a great network and a great little camaraderie around you, of people that you look up to, people that are a couple steps ahead for you to step up and follow in the footsteps of. So no, that's awesome.
I talk to a lot of people and they're really negative, on the phone. I'm just like, but you just got to have a different, like your wordings have to change. Like you just have to be different. I'm not perfect, believe me. Like, I get hit down, anxiety, I'm no different to anyone else, But all I do is I continually work on myself to get myself better and surround myself with like-minded people. And that's the key to it. I don't sit there and try to gossip all day. I've got better things to do in my life, and totally. People in their shows, I don't watch a lot of television. I have no idea, but that's the way I am.
I love it. The only TV I watch is footy and F1. That's it. And a bit of cricket. Don't want a bit of cricket, that's for sure. Last question as we wrap it up. And I think I might know the answer to this one. I think you might have answered it earlier, but I'm going to ask it just in case there's something else. Was there something that someone ever said to you, something that you heard, something that you read, something that was, brought to you that really changed your perspective of what it is that you do? And it's something that you draw back on now, like in a tough time? Is there something that you like? There's a quote that you're like, that's what I say to myself.
I will. You just watch me. I still use it now, man.
I love that.
And they're just wonderful words. I went to training with that sort of attitude. I will. You just watch me. I will. You just watch me. I will. You just watch me. And then just my mindset changed.
I love that. Well, Kouto, this has been incredible. I've got tons of notes here personally that I've taken away from it. And I know that the listeners and the watchers are also going to get a lot out of it too. Again, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. anyone watching and listening, go and follow Kuta for sure. There's tons of advice and tips and lots of knowledge to be learned as well from someone who's achieved a lot and is going to go on to achieve a lot more as well. Where would be the best spot for someone to find more, follow you, learn, be a part of what it is that you do?
Yeah, Instagram and Facebook. I've got a public Facebook page. Instagram too. Just follow. And in my stories, I try to. I've been a bit, I've got a lot on now, but I try to just, show my world within the stories as much as I possibly can. And, what I do throughout my daily routine. As people start to age, you've got to like really look after yourself. And if you ask me what's more important, training, the exercise or nutrition part or the mindset, we described as 20% is exercise, 80% nutrition, 100% mindset. Nutrition. That's the key, man. Nutrition is the key. People go, but during this lockdown, because I didn't do my 10,000 steps and I put on, no. I didn't probably do 10,000 steps a day either. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Nutrition. All right.
It's funny that they come to you with those excuses. It's like, that may have worked for 9 other people that you speak to, but for me, it ain't going to work. I get how it works. I love it.
If you need to do 20,000 steps every day to maintain your weight, then mate, your nutrition's not right. Because this week I've trained maybe twice or whatever. Yeah. People say train every day. I don't. But my nutrition, and I still enjoy myself. Like I still eat, been having an Italian mother, still pasta and pizza and fish and chips. Mate, I've got to have my burgers, love me potato cakes, love me dimmy. So I still enjoy myself. Don't get me wrong. But 90% of the time, I'm very strict with what I do.
To the point. Isn't that the idea of it? Having fun on the journey, enjoying what it is that you do, still staying to the path.
I don't know how people eat little bits of food like this. I'm dieting. I can't. I'm sorry. I've never been able to do it. I still eat bread, so I can't do it, man. And so that's how our community works, man. Is that we will get you down, and then we'll enjoy our life as well. And that's what my coaches and all that our customers do. So yeah.
I love that. Well done, buddy. Well done. Well, again, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Guys, if you're watching and listening, go and follow Kuta. There's tons of beautiful content out there and a lot to learn. That's one thing I like as well, and I'll only ever suggest people to go, and I want to get people on the show. And that's why I want to finish with this, is I only ever want to get people on the show that actually give real value out there, and it's worth following. I don't want to try and get people on the show who read a book 100 years ago and are still talking about that. It's like people that have done stuff and then also doing things now, real life. So thank you for everything you've done, Kuta, and you're doing. Thank you so much for even making the time today to be on the show. I hope you had a bit of fun on the journey. But everyone else out there, make sure you go and follow Kuta, connect with him online as well. And thank you for tuning into this episode, and we'll catch you on the next one.